button. Record button is hit because I'm going to put this on YouTube. I got to start putting more stuff out on YouTube. So everybody that catches this out on YouTube, I just gave an intro. I'm not going to repeat it. You're going to have to go to Bookkeeping BS Facebook page to see the awesome intro. But you didn't miss the meaty content, which first I have an announcement to make. And if you're on YouTube, you've already seen these because they're on our YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook watching this right now, you've probably seen me talking about this. But just a reminder, if you haven't, or if you just haven't gotten it yet, I have like a whole freaking plethora of target budget spreadsheets for anybody in the home service industry. I shouldn't say anybody. There's a couple that I have left to do, but essentially it's a budget that fills itself out. Like your dream budget. If you don't like accounting, you're like, what would be the best budget? Oh, one that I don't have to fill out. It's kind of like if you ask me, hey, Dan, what's your favorite beer? And I'd be like, free beer, like one that I don't have to pay for. If I ask you what's your favorite budget, you're going to be like, oh, one that I don't have to build, right? Like just give me a damn budget. And so therefore I did that. So all you got to do is put in your sales targets and it literally builds the rest out for you. It has some stuff you can customize if you want to. You don't have to. It has some like exercises you can think through. And then if you like them, you can pull them right into your budget with like the click of a button. And if you don't like that, you can delete it and it goes away, but you don't lose everything else you created. So super customizable. I would estimate it. Like, I don't know how much this thing is worth, but if somebody just said, hey, Dan, build me a budget, I think I'd charge them about $1,000. It's 10 years of information. It's nerdy spreadsheeting. And so rather than me make a bunch of money, I'm just going to give it to everybody for free. Because that's how we do things.
I'm surprised you would say $1,000 because I saw it and I didn't finish signing up for it because like I don't know if everybody else has ADD or is it just me? But
everybody has it.
I was filling it out and I got like halfway through and I don't remember if I got a call or something, but I remember just thinking like, holy shit, this is legit. Like it's a legit, you guys are giving away a ton of stuff because it was after Sean made the announcement about the 12 days.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, oh dang, I need to tell Emily we need to try to win this. And then I saw the announcement you made for that. So I was like, oh, we need this too. I need this.
We're giving it all away. We're going for broke. Which don't tell Uncle Mike that we're going for broke because he's gonna be like, dude, you can't give everything away in the winter when we're not making any money. Like this is a bad time to give everything away. But hey, we're in the giving spirit. So there's a target budget for window cleaning. There's pressure washing. There's gutter cleaning. There's I just got carpet cleaning up. There's maid service. There's janitorial if you're more commercial. There is what did I miss? Pest control and carpet cleaning I just released. And I'm working on one for lawn care and landscaping. Now, the tricky thing is with lawn care and landscaping, which I'm trying to solve, is that some of their revenue is recurring and then some of it is like one time. And it can be very like evenly split or heavily weighted from one to the other, depending on their strategy. And not many other industries have that. Like a window cleaning company, generally, unless it's like commercial route work like yours, like that would be the only thing where you'd have a lot of recurring and then, some one times. You have a little bit of that in main service, but like you're either all deep cleans or all recurring. So like that's a weird nut to try to crack. But so here's the deal. Go and get your free target budget. It's at yourblueskies.com, which is our website. I'll throw it in the comments here on the Facebook. And then when I post this on YouTube, I'll probably forget to put the link in there. But Your Blue Skies, it's 3 words with no spaces or anything like that, .com. You can't miss it. It's free. Go download it. There's no sales pitch or anything. Just go get your free budget. And then the pitches right now, when you want somebody to do that stuff for you, because it's not what you like to do, then just hire me to do it. Easy. Tonight, Gabe, we're hijacking the topic that you and Sean were going to talk about, which is how should you give employees financial information? How should you give it to them? How much should you give to them? When should you give it to them? There's a lot of questions around it. And I don't feel like anybody has the right answer. I don't know if we'll get to the right answer, but I've got some thoughts. Before we get into that, can you give everybody the little Gabe Torres, what you got going on? Like, give us a quick rundown of the few different businesses and where you're cutting your teeth right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I have not recurring. You said recurring. commercial route work business in Nashville mainly, and so that's all just mom and pop shops, Paneras, Starbucks, like cleaning the windows. Um, Nothing that would require us to be high up. So for the majority of stuff, we can use a step stool. But so we do the commercial route work business out there. We also have a maid service in Florida that we have. Emily is crushing it running that business. And then we just recently, we ran an acquisition of a residential pressure washing business. So those are kind of the three main things right now that we have going on.
When you so you've got now, and I'm like kind of paraphrasing what we talked about last week a little bit, because you have sorry, I'm like trying to multitask and I'm a dude, so I'm like looking at my phone trying to hit a share button to tell everybody we got going this thing on, and I can't.
Or you forget and then end up not doing it like I did.
No, I just did it. That was why I forgot to talk to you just now, is because I was doing that. But so now, from our conversation on Thursday, we talked about the types of people you have working for you. So you have both independent contractors in Nashville where you're doing the route work, window cleaning, and then you have employees in Florida where you're doing residential maid service, and in Nashville now where you're doing pressure washing. So there's some differences in how you manage those two groups of people. How do you generally pay those two types of people? Do you pay them differently, strategically the same? Like, how do they get rewarded and compensated for their work?
No, they're all paid the same. I never thought about that. But yeah, the only difference was that the maid service in Florida was initially getting paid hourly, and then we switched that. But they all just get paid a percentage of what they produce.
Okay.
Different percentages, obviously, for the different businesses, but yeah.
Gotcha. How so as we dive into how to give people financial information, I kind of want to start there. And I don't know if this is going to be different with contractors versus employees. Maybe it is. But we have different groups of employees in our business. As our business grows, we start like creating different layers. And then you get the Rob Anderson layer that just shows up and ices the cake. What's going on, Rob?
What's up, man? I kept getting into, somehow I was going into Zoom and it was just like I was watching the live video but not able to participate.
You were in that, like, when you go to church and there's like the little room for the kids in the back for them screaming and crying, but there's usually glass so you can see what's going on.
It's soundproof.
Yeah. It's super soundproof, except for you can hear the dads going, ah, like that. That's me sitting back there, like losing it. Yeah. So Rob Anderson, everybody knows Rob Anderson, but for those that don't know Rob Anderson, this is Rob Anderson, Clean Power Washing out in Maryland.
It says it on my shirt.
Boom, Rob. Missing the Anderson, but I'm glad you stuck with the one syllable name. I can handle that.
Sure.
And Rob, it's been a while since you've been on. I missed you, man. How you doing?
Yeah, it's been crazy. So I fired my sales guy, long overdue for doing that, on like a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. He just stopped doing his job.
That's a good reason to fire him.
Give you 10 quotes to do, and you go buy 3 of them, take pictures, and then like leave for the day. The crazy thing is one of those 10 leads turned into an $8,400 lighting job plus like $1,000 roof cleaning.
That worked out all right.
He was too busy to do that. And it even said on the lead, like, customer wants to see her house from space. I was like, yeah, like, legit, we got a drone out there. You can see it. So I fired him. Monday, I ended up being sick. Worked the whole week. I get tested Wednesday, had Corona. So, and this is, November 6th or 9th or whatever, like hardcore middle of light season.
Yeah.
That kind of just took me out of everything. And finally back into it for the last, couple weeks that we're doing like 40 grand a week, which is just awesome.
That's bonkers. Are you back to 100%?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm 2 weeks removed from feeling like crap. When I finally was able to like get back to work, it was like, oh my goodness, I'm ready to work. I'd been
Yeah.
kind of caged beast basically.
The opposite of burned out. I'm so burned in. Like get
Yeah. Please.
So
Ready to get burned out.
Rob, have you met Gabe? Gabe, have you guys met before?
I don't think
I don't
so.
think so. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, man.
Rob, you got to get to the original BBB so you can meet guys like Gabe. I know we've tried to get you there before. Next time we got one, I'm holding you to it. You got to get down to business, bourbon, and bullshit.
Sounds good.
So here's the picture we're painting now. Rob, you're paying commission to your technicians as well, right?
Yes, except for lights. We did hourly with lights with a pretty motivational performance bonus. So
Nice. So kind of functionally the same in a way, just paint like structured differently.
yep.
So Gabe has some independent contractors, some employees, kind of all paid commission in a few different businesses. And I start there just because I think when you're paying commission style, like there's more information needed for people to understand their paychecks a little bit. And so we're talking about how much financial information you should give employees. And as your business scales, you start to create different levels of employees, right? So like when you're starting out, you kind of have a helper, a few technicians. Eventually you maybe have an admin staff. And then eventually you might have a leadership team that manages the managers and the admin staff who also then manage technicians. So I think the answer to this question is kind of one of those, like, it depends how much financial information you should give employees and what level of detail you should give them. You've got different levels of employees. So let's kind of like work our way from the technician, where we know everybody's got technicians out in the field. And I thought it was important to, I don't know why I thought it was important, but I felt that it was important to talk about how we pay them, because I kind of feel like if you pay commission, you have to justify how they earn that commission. So I'm curious how you guys show your employees how they got that commission. Like, you must be giving them some sort of financial information that says, here's what your paycheck was and like how you got there. Do you have a report, or do you have a way to like produce that information? Or do you just say this is what it was and that's the end of it? How do you paint that for them?
So for our guys, we have production sheets. And for power washing, they're supposed to fill that in every day. It's 10% per tech, or 15% if they're running solo. So they do their jobs every day. If they hit $6,000 in a week, they get a 1% bonus if you're a lead, 2% at 7,500, and 3% at 10 grand. Helpers get half those percentages. So the thought there is that, Dan looks at it on Wednesday and is like, all right, man, we're at $4,500. We can definitely do another $1,500 to get us to that $6,000. Maybe we can get to 7,500, but by tracking it throughout the week, kind of see where you're at, do what you need to get to that next level.
Gotcha. So they're seeing like dollars of revenue that they're producing, and they're not just seeing a stub at the end of a point in time. Like, they're seeing it as they go. They're tracking it themselves, it sounds like.
Correct. They should know that. And it's gotten to the point where some of the guys that they weren't turning in production sheets. And so it was a matter of, hey, we're not going to track you down. We're not going to do all this extra work to find out if you earned a bonus or not this week. If you can't simply take the time literally on the drive from job A to job B to track what you've done. Like, we had one guy that for 3 weeks straight didn't do it. I'm sure that he missed out on at least $200 to $300 in bonus money because he could fill out a piece of paper. Like,
Must have not wanted it that bad.
Yeah.
Just wanted to work much harder to get that same money that he already earned.
He was an hourly worker for sure. Got a couple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you guys do it? Cool. Do you do it? Oh, sorry, Gabe. Go ahead.
No, I mean, this leads into, I think, your question, but I wish Service Autopilot would do that on the mobile app for the technicians, like for the commercial route work business in Nashville. It tells me on the desktop. So at the beginning of the week, I communicate that to all of our techs so they know what they should be producing and what they should make. And there's usually incentives tied to, like, if they have below an 8% skip ratio. But what sucks is like they have their app where they can see their jobs. They can see, you know, if the customer's supposed to pay by invoice or if they have a card on file, you know, all the details of the job. But we talk about this all the time that they would like to see where they're at in the week. Like if it's Wednesday, I want to know all right, how much have I produced? 600, 800, what am I at on the week? But it doesn't have that. So we track it for them. And then and they get that at the beginning of the week and at the end of the week. And then if they have questions about their pay stubs, we have reports that we can send to them that basically show them every job they did that week and the amounts and, you know, their percentage of it. So we have it, but it's just not as effective. I feel like if they could have it in real time like that, it would be so much more effective.
Yeah. I wonder, so Josh Taylor just chimed in the comments and said leaderboard. So you're, you know, putting something up on the wall so they can see how they're doing every time they walk in. We switched one of our businesses to Service Monster this year away from Service Autopilot, and we didn't get this feature enabled, but I know on the app, it actually has like a graph where it shows how much commission they're making. And it literally like goes up as they close jobs out. So it gives them like the dopamine hit of like, close that, you know, $500 job, just ching, 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 ching. But I don't know if it just like resets every day or if it will continually build for the week. And then like show them how much commission they earn by the end of the week. Then of course you still need to like help them understand like, no, taxes get taken out. And so does this deduction for this thing and that thing. Like the $1,000 that you earned in commission, like you got a $700 paycheck. That's still the right dollar amount. Like, yeah. This is how the world works. But I think so the gist of it, and Gabe, like, you were talking about Service Autopilot and the independent contractors. Is it very similar for the Pressure King and for Sudsy Buckets? Do you do similar stuff in terms of tracking their production?
Yeah, pretty much. It's essentially like, you know, this is what you have on the schedule for the week. You know, this is what you're accountable for, and this is what you are. You know, if you knock this out at they get, so in the maid service, they get 40%. So, hey, you're going to get, you know, they already know they're getting 40%. Mm-hmm. They just each week need to know getting 40% of what. And so we typically let them know. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah. Like weekly.
Yep. I got you. Yeah. So now I guess the question is for anybody that's watching that pays people hourly, do you think, like, we all pay commission, and therefore I think we kind of have to show people how much revenue they're producing, right? So they're getting some insight as to the financials of the business right then and there, and they know the percent they get. If you were paying people hourly, would you still give them that level of detail and show them how much revenue they created, or would it be irrelevant and you wouldn't show it to the technicians?
I don't know. I think I still would.
I think here's the end viewpoint for me is that ultimately, if Gabe's on my staff, Gabe's a smart guy, whether or not I give him full access or he's just a smart guy looking at what's going on. This is a 4-hour job. You know, bosses said that usually we're doing $150 to $200 an hour. This is probably X amount of money. You figure it out. And I think it as an employee, it's kind of insulting if like, no, Dan, I trust you to go ahead and clean the commercial building, but I don't want you to know how much it cost. Mm-hmm. There's ways around all of it. And obviously with, you know, we had our 4 seasonal guys for Christmas lights. They had a much more restricted access level to our software, to the CRM. You know, nobody's able to export or import it except for me. Nobody can delete clients and other things. So kind of stop some of the shadiness, but again, if somebody wants to know, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point of, you know, it being insulting. And now that I think about it, Dan, it's 100% transparent in the maid service, because on launch 27, whenever they get their schedule for the day, it tells them all the details of the job. So they see exactly how much we're charging the customer. They see exactly what's getting discounted, if there's any discounts applied, or if there's any upsells applied. So they see it even before they go out to do the job.
Yep. And I almost feel like the hourly wage like that topic might even be irrelevant. I don't know anybody that's considering like, I pay commission now, I'm thinking about going back to hourly. Anybody is either already paying commission because they've, you know, ripped off that Band-Aid, made the switch, or they're like paying hourly today and they're like, I know I got to pay commission. Like it just makes a lot of sense. It de-risks your business. It motivates your employees. It makes them way more productive. I've only seen one person who pays hourly and is running a really good business with really good gross margins. I won't give away their name, but I talked to him about it and I was like, I don't know if I would switch if I was you. Like everything is running really smooth. Your turnover is not bad. Your wages are about in line. Your percentages are good. Like at the point that it breaks, maybe switch to commission-based pay, but hard to say when somebody's hitting every target you would put out for them that they're doing anything wrong. But other than that, I feel like in general, if you're paying commission, you got it. You're giving that level of detail anyway. So now let's take it to the next level, which would be the people. Maybe not the next level. Let's do this. What about like office managers or admin staff? Maybe they're not like managing that crew, but they're seeing stuff in the office. They're seeing how much revenue you're producing, right? I think kind of what we're getting to is everybody's going to see the revenue, maybe not the full picture, but at least on a daily, weekly basis, whatever. Are the people in the office seeing any of the cost structure that it takes to run the business, or are they just kind of seeing the revenue that gets booked?
It comes to somebody's maturity and their financial understanding of a business. I mean, when we did $45,000 in a week in our office, I was like, man, that's more than I'm making a year. Like, that's awesome. She's like, I want to own a business. And then she's like, but then I see how you run around like a chicken with your head cut off all the time. And you're always crazy and all over the place and all the stress and everything else that you have to deal with. And it's like, yeah, we did a whole lot in lights. You know, we broke the $200,000 level, and I'm very open with everybody about those numbers. Like if we do $5 million in Christmas lights and that hurts Dan's feelings, that's Dan's fault. That's not my fault. You know, it's just numbers, you know?
Yep. Trevor Armstrong chimed in. He said, I would be happy if an hourly employee wanted to know their worth regardless of commission. Those individuals stand out regardless. And I think like anybody that's interested in the success of the business and how successful they are, like, what am I producing? And they want to know that. I think like in general, that's a pretty darn good thing. If they're more like, hey, just pay me my $500-$600 this week, and then I'll go home and get the heck out of here. Like that's usually a good sign of a lack of engagement. Zach Vernon says, I did that high level P&L for dummies breakout with team last week and super eye opening for them. So just like showing them roughly how the business model works. And Rob, to your point, $45,000 of revenue, like you're keeping $5,000-$10,000 of that. Like it's going out the door in supplies and in the marketing and like you rented a badass shop. That thing ain't free. Like the employees generally don't understand that money is spent. So now let's move up to the next level per se, the people that are managing the doers. So you maybe have ops managers or production managers that are managing technicians, maybe an administrative manager that's managing multiple people in the office or something like that. As they're being responsible for managing teams, at what level of financial information would you give to them, and what would you either not give to them because just maybe they're not going to understand it, or maybe you just don't want them knowing all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes? Where do you kind of draw that line for managers?
Well, and even, can we go back real quick before we move on to that? With the admin, I think the other part that I've realized with admin staff versus like your people that are out producing revenue is that's like a key difference in the business, right? Like somebody who's producing revenue, if you're doing it right, is producing enough revenue to cover what they get paid. Mm-hmm. So they're covering that, plus they're generating all that contribution margin to help pay bills, and hopefully there's a little bit of profit. Whereas admin staff, they do, but it's hard to calculate that as easily as it is with like a technician who produces 1,000, and for us we have 55% margin on that. So there's 55% of contribution margin to kind of go towards bills.
Yeah.
With admin, it's a little bit different. And so what I've run into is admin looking at like so payroll or looking at bonuses or guys earning incentives and then feeling like, well, I'm crushing it. Like
Yeah. I touched all of their revenue before they ever got to produce it.
I'm crushing it and I'm knocking this out. And it's like, well, yeah, but they're producing this revenue that covers their incentives. Like if I pay him an extra $100 and he goes out and produces 500 because of that extra 100 to go work on a weekend, it's what we wouldn't have had that.
Yeah.
Whereas the admin activity has to get done, and it definitely is valuable to the business, but it's just different. And so I've had to have that conversation, and it was good because you can alleviate those feelings of like, well, I feeling like, well, I'm doing a good job. How do I get rewarded? And then I had another conversation. That's kind of what made me think about this. Was at the last BBB, my $10,000 idea was to show people where their productivity in a business lies in a P&L, right? And if you hire somebody, that P&L should look more productive every time you make a hire. And if it's not, then it's usually going, you're either something's wrong.
Yeah, sinking your ship.
So I had that conversation, and then that affected our P&L in a hugely positive way because the person took it and said, all right, cool. I understand that this is the activity that I need to get done, but it doesn't generate revenue. And then this is the activity that affects the bottom line. And so they were able to manage both and then crush it and make us way more profitable the last 4 months.
Yeah. So to your point, it's definitely hard to like figure out. And Josh Taylor chimed in. He said profit sharing. Nick Thurston said incentives to do their job better. Very easy to incentivize the technicians because if you're paying commission, like, and I love Rob's way of doing it, like, I'm paying you commission already. You're already incentivized to go do more. But if you do more of more, then you even get a little bit more. And if you do more of the more, then you get a little bit more of the more. And we have a similar thing with home cleaning where now we have like if they produce over $1,000 in a week home cleaning, they jump up a little bit in commission. If they produce $1,300, they jump up a little bit more in their commission rate across everything. So very like similar concept. And Gabe, to your point, when we're looking at admin staff, one of the things we found is, technicians can be responsible for their own revenue, but they can't generally be responsible for everybody else's. Whereas like our office manager is generally responsible for all of the revenue because she's going to book most of it over the phone or at least book the estimate. And if things aren't going right, it's her job to try to get us paid and reduce the level of the discount we have to give, or make sure a guy goes back out and takes care of it. Like she's got to protect all of the revenue. And so we tied her incentive. Now she also has the clutch of like, it's totally dependent on if we have the capacity for her to fill up that schedule, but she gets incentivized on the total revenue. And so we have revenue targets and budgets for her to hit. And the thing that we kind of missed on was we didn't have like productivity pieces to it because there's so many things that influence it. So I want to find ways to like tie her incentive to live answer rate or how long customer service things stay unhandled or, whatever, like how many jobs she books or something like that. So there's an activity tied to it. Just like you said, Gabe, where technicians have that activity tied to it. A little trickier with admin people to like help them see the benefit of and the value of their activity. Whereas technicians, it's like, I run this squeaky, it brings in these dollars. Salesperson can answer the phone and it brings in these dollars, but it takes so much more and so much longer to get it built up. But I love that. Jeremy Brook says, Josh Taylor, good commenting so much. I assume that's what Rob is laughing at.
Yeah, very much so.
All right. So, I think to the point of those technicians that are doing the work and the admin or salespeople that are like helping set it up, it's very revenue focused. Now let's talk about the expenses, because that's the tricky part that we all kind of wear the burden of. And we tend to get frustrated, to like Rob's point, when employees like, you made 45,000 and you're like I'll be lucky if I made 4,500. Like, don't you remember the truck breaking down and then this thing that we had to pay her back for and like all these expenses? And we always like feel like we have to justify the fact that we did all this stuff, but it's not like we were like running around, Mardi Gras every 3 days. To Rob's point, we are running around like chickens with our heads cut off, working hard all the time. So I guess, do you, and if so, how do you share expense level detail with your employees, and how does that change for like different groups of employees?
So I'll kind of go on that. First of all, we're at well, as of yesterday, before we let our 4 seasonal people go, we were at 13. So we've got our core power washers, we've got our sales team in office and whatnot. I try to, and I always worry about how it comes across to guys, like, hey, that ball valve that you have there, that's $40 for that ball valve, plus the extra $10 in fittings. That's a $50 thing that you're just dragging around. This power washer costs $37.50. Like, I can tell you the cost of everything we've got in here. They're sorting the light bulbs yesterday, and they're like, pew, 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 throwing them into these bins.
Like, those are freaking $1 each.
Yeah, I was like, you're literally like, you got like I would say probably like a 20% chance or 10% chance of messing it up. But like, you get a little closer to this stuff and just like toss it in a little bit. And I don't know, I always try to be clear, like, hey, this is what we spent. Like, I'm very clear, like, we are spending a boatload of money and all this. And I think it's a lot easier to see now that we have this big shop. Like, everybody understands there is a hefty monthly payment there, running these rigs. And obviously, again, it goes back to the people that we have, the guys that we have to explain and like are spending 50 hours a week and producing that at their commission rate. I have to give them an extra $50 to $100 to get them to minimum wage, when I've got other guys that I send out, they work 30 hours and they're averaging $19 an hour before any other spiffs or anything else. It really is. It's that person's mentality. Same with the admin person. Like, if they're looking at it and saying, Dan's making all this money, why don't I get more money? And it's like, okay, well, prove your value.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a conversation if you think you're bringing value. I think you're a little underpaid, but like, you have to come at it from an educated standpoint too. So
Yep.
It's funny because I think about it and I feel like I've had to do the opposite, where I've had to encourage our guys to not to spend money, but to stop wasting time on $50 fixes. Like, right, if you're wasting time, I don't know if it's some of the guys that we've hired are just frugal or what, except for one guy recently.
It's probably because Dulky is so close by that they can just feel his extreme frugality.
I've had to have the opposite conversations most of the time, with the exception of this guy I just let go. But I've had to let them know, like, hey, if this is a $50 fix and you're spending an hour sitting there on a job trying to fix a hose or trying to fix a valve, let's just fucking buy another valve, right? Like, that's valuable time. 2 guys on site in an apartment complex, you're losing us money. I get that you're trying to, like,
mm-hmm.
I love the spirit, but let's fix that and we'll make more money. You'll be better off, and then you won't have the headache of it, and you'll feel like you had an easier day.
And the key in what you just said is that's somebody that you just let go. I had a guy who, I show up to this job, $1,500 house wash, deck, whatnot. He was complaining from the beginning. Client wanted something else done or wanted the deck basically stripped and whatnot. And we've done work out there. We know this guy, it's a chicken farm. Out in the barn, there is like a 15 to 20 gallon a minute hose supply. The guy even told him that, and we'd already said, hey, go over there. And I come out there, and they've been out there for 8 hours to do this job that I could have done solo in 5, maybe done it in 3.5, 4 hours with a helper. He hadn't used his tools because he's like, well, I get confused with this thing. Didn't try it even. They're like, the booster won't work. Well, you didn't plug it in. You didn't even turn on the generator. And it's those things where, again, because if you need this to get it done, like I said, I've told you guys over and over again, you guys need a staple gun to get this done. You need other clips. You need to get this or this. Like, buy it. I will pay you back as soon as you get back to the shop. I will give you the money. If it's over $100, yeah. just let me know before you go out and buy whatever power tool that you think you need, and I can tell you, no, you don't need that. But
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, and we're getting into unique situations. Like that's the tricky part is the understanding of some guys of just being able to like have a good decision-making framework about profitable decisions when you're running a business and efficiency versus cost savings. Like Gabe, to your point, how much time are you going to spend on a fix that saves you $50 versus you could have taken a half hour, ran to Home Depot, got the thing, had the job done, and we would have been more profitable. Because otherwise, I got to pay you to sit there and mess with it, or it's eating your commission away anyway, right? We can fix it back at the shop. We're going to need a backup hose anyway, type of mentality. But it's tricky, right? Because at some point, there was a couple of years ago in one of our locations, the guy was like, "Hey, I just handled this thing. I took the transit in to get this thing done." And I was like, "You spent $1,800 at the end of November on a transit fix when we're gonna park this thing for 3 months, right?" And it was like
1,800 is a big amount, too.
dude,
yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense. I mean, like for safety reasons, we needed to have that done, but in our business in November, you don't make $1,800 investments when you're about to be shut down for 3 months.
Yeah.
So we had a guy who, with our newest box truck, decided that since the check engine light came on, he would check the fluids, and he added some more. It was low on motor oil
I'm excited where this is going to go.
or brake fluid. This is after the first job of the day.
Or brake fluid.
Yeah.
Proceeds whatever. Literally, like, just went to the gas station, got some fluid, and added it in there. Again, check engine light. You can be the most vehicle or mechanically illiterate person in the world, but you should understand what your engine sounded like before it decided to crap the bed. He drove it another 45 miles to multiple job sites throughout the day, and it sounded like there were BBs bouncing around inside the engine compartment. And so instead of it, I mean, and the engine could have been completely shot when the check engine light went. It could have been something where we could have had it fixed within a couple of days. It ended up being down for 37 days, and we had to fight the insurance company and the warranty and this and this and this on our best and brightest and most amazing truck, because he didn't take that step and say, like, no, this is, I can't be responsible for
escalating quickly.
Like,
So what was it? What was the thing that went wrong?
the engine blew up.
The engine blew, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they're like, it definitely blew a rod and probably a bearing, and cylinders like 2 and 6 and something else were like. I mean, the guy turns it on. My foreman, when they bring it back to the shop and he starts the thing up, and he's like, Rob, he's like, I don't even know how he drove to other places. Like, I would have been scared to, like, I would have just stopped right there and said, we need to get a tow truck. Like, and they did the same stupid stuff. Like, the same tech tried to do a 3-point turn or 12-point turn or whatever was going to be on this teeny back road, and put the truck in the ditch. Put it in the ditch, and instead of trying to get up with us, got somebody to call a tow truck company, which again, for a box truck, is probably going to be, they're going to bring out the big wrecker.
Oh yeah,
pull you. It's going to be $800 to $1,200 for a tow, versus, hey, we have 6 trucks. I can go buy a chain for $100, and we're going to snatch that sucker out of the ditch.
Yeah, we'll be able to handle that one.
We're going to deal with this.
Yeah.
Like,
so let me.
I'll make that decision.
I'm gonna transition us back to. I want to hit on some levels of like how to, since this bookkeeping beer and BS. I got to get back to the P&L a little bit. Rob's got to get. Rob's got to find another beer. So quickly looking back here, a few questions. Trevor Armstrong said, "How do you deal with breaking equipment if that happens?" So like, guys break equipment in the field. What do you do with that? And this just happened in our BBB Voxer chat that we have with the group of guys. I think Nick Thurston that's on actually was either the one that asked it or had an answer to it. But The best idea or process that I saw, and we haven't implemented this, but I really liked it, which is if you are, no matter how you're paying them, basically tie a component of their compensation to having a week without any complaints, no lost equipment, no broken equipment. Like if your week goes flawless, you get this percent bonus on top of your commission or your hourly rate, whatever. But it's a bonus every single week. Every time something wrong happens, or if you lose equipment or leave equipment behind or break equipment, it basically reduces that bonus either that week, or if it's like massive, could reduce that bonus for an extended period of time, basically until you compensate yourself. But you can't like deduct it from their pay, but you can take away a bonus. So the important thing is build a pay structure where there's a bonus on top of like a normal base pay, and that bonus being very achievable, but also very takeawayable if something breaks, if they lose something, if they have a crappy week and do a bad job and have a bunch of redos. Like you get to take that bonus back basically for them not doing what they're supposed to be doing or breaking your stuff out in the field. Can be situational, but that was the best way I've heard to do it, given that you can't like take money away from people when it's part of their base pay. Gabe or Rob, you guys got anything to add to that or any other ideas?
Takeawayable. I love that word.
Takeawayable. You like that word? Probably hyphenated.
So with their production sheets, they get $25 bonus for no callbacks for the week. That's available for everybody. And then our leads have to take pictures each week of all the jobs into company cam, and they get an extra $25 for that. And then, yeah, like I said, the bonuses. The only thing that, from what I've understood, though, is that if your employee handbook that they sign off on, that they understand that damaged equipment or property damages or whatever else can be deducted from their actual paycheck. Again, I understand they still have to make the minimum wage or whatever, that there are some additional stipulations that can be done. It's easier to take away the bonus. We had a guy that we left him to do one side of this like $7,000 or $8,000 house wash, and roof and everything, and got rust remover chemicals on the windows of his patio doors. And after 8 chemicals, still couldn't fix it, and brushing and trying to polish the doors and stuff. And so that was $700 or $800. So he didn't get a bonus for the last like 4 weeks that he worked for us.
Yeah. We had something similar happen where a guy bleached a bunch of carpet. We did a soft wash. He soft washed with the screens on, and then never rinsed, and then took the screens off on the inside to clean the inside of the windows and set them on the carpet. And replaced all the carpet in the house. It was a doozy. It was like just a really tough customer to work with. That unfortunately we couldn't recover that, because I think that was also like one of his last days with us, which was a bummer.
I think in general, even just for morale, because I remember this conversation in the BBB chat, taking it out of bonuses away instead of doing it from pay is just a way better for morale too, right? Like that way the guy's not pissed off. He can't really be upset because it was his fault. So yeah.
Yep.
Nick made the point that it's illegal to reduce hourly pay for that kind of stuff. It has to be at least a bonus or commission, at least in California. So as with everything that Dan says, check with your state to make sure that's legal.
Before that, Nick had the best idea, which was throw the broken pieces at them really hard. I like that idea. Break something, they got to run the gauntlet.
Well, with those things, like the windows, they're like double pane insulated, like big ass panels of glass. And so my plan next year, we kept them. They weren't broken. So we're going to take like the car dealership stuff where they write like, $16.99 or whatever for the vehicle price. We're going to put, that's going to be our damage tracker, to show the guys.
Nice.
This window cost us $700 because somebody literally didn't spray water on glass. Never needed to happen.
Yep. Yeah. So
you guys killed 5 bushes.
So as we here's like we talked about the commissions and technicians and them seeing their revenue, super important. We've talked about admin and them kind of having like the full view to revenue, just from like understanding what the business is doing. From an expense standpoint, we kind of got sidetracked here into like unique situations where employees are creating expenses and we kind of want them to understand how much stuff costs. I want to bring it back to the P&L. What's up, Jordan Caldwell? Jordan's on the show. There's a period of time where Jordan's thing looked exactly like Candace Greathouse's thing. So every time he said something, Bobby and I thought it was Candace, which we all know Candace Greathouse. And so then we'd give him a lot of shit because Jordan looked exactly like Candace. We always thought everything he said, it was Candace being the smart ass. Anyway, I digress. So I want to take it back to like levels of the P&L and how we give detail to certain groups of employees. So one of the things that I have found to be helpful, and it's kind of based on how they get compensated and rewarded, right? Like technicians get compensated based on the revenue that they produce if you're paying commission. So we got to tie their revenue to like the thing that they see, right? We got to show them their revenue so they can understand how they made their commission. When we're incentivizing a production manager, they have some salary in our business. They have some commission because we still want them to be out producing as well while they're managing the team. But we also tie some bonus of them managing all of our cost of goods sold. Because for us, cost of goods sold, and for all of our bookkeeping clients, cost of goods sold is going to be anything happening in the field, whether it's the labor, the supplies, the chemicals, like whatever those folks are doing in the field, the manager is responsible for it. So we set cost of goods sold targets for them every month. And if they beat it, they can get pretty significant bonuses. And it's kind of like step up scaling bonuses. The more they beat that cost of goods sold percentage by, the bigger bonus they get at the end of the month. It's not something you can really do weekly because it like when you make the supply purchase and when you pay the fuel credit card or whatever, like all that stuff kind of has to melt into the month. But because they have an incentive that's tied to all of cost of goods sold, we provide our managers that are managing the technicians with all of that cost of goods sold detail. They need to know, to Gabe, what you had said before, they need to know where they have an impact on the P&L. And those managers dictate when we buy supplies, how the people are using them in the field, how is that technician staying with us or are they getting fired? And can we get them productive to help their labor rates? I'll stop there. What do you guys think about that? Is like, as you've got people managing people, how do you incentivize them for the performance of all the people that they're managing, and how do you give them insights into your P&L to help them know what they're meant to accomplish?
I'm pretty, I mean, in general, this is not just with those people, but even just across the board, I'm pretty open with all of our people, and I'm super transparent about it. And it's kind of like what Rob said earlier, where I'll have the conversation with them, and if they have the maturity or the open mind to understand, like it may not be what they want to hear, but that's just what it is and what it comes down to in the business, then for the most part, it's always gone well. Like I just had a conversation with a guy who's kind of in the middle of like from a tech to becoming a production manager, and there's another guy ahead of him, and so he was wondering. They found out how much he got paid versus what he got paid, and he gets 25 and he gets 20, and so it was like, well, no, yeah, this is why he gets 25 because of X, Y, and Z, right? And if you want to get 25, then this is what you have to do. Right. And so now this guy's earning 25 and he went and did it because he was mature enough to have the conversation and be like, this sucks. I don't like that, but I'm going to go out and try to do the same thing. So I'm super open across all levels, but especially at, with like Emily in Tampa at that level where she's managing girls in the field and she's responsible for our cost of goods sold. Like she knows everything that's going on in the business. Yeah. So
now, let me ask you this one, because I think this could be different too in how you present the numbers. Who are you showing like actuals to, and they see your P&L every week or like that? So for our production managers, I send them weekly. Here's how you're doing on cost. Here's how we're doing revenue. Here's how you're doing on cost of goods sold. Here's your gross margin, and here's how that compares to like your target for the month so far. compared to talking about like percentages that generally the business achieves with people, or maybe just talking about like, you know, you go out and we have this much of our business or this much of our money gets spent on this and this much gets spent on this, and like talking in high level percentages. Do you differentiate between like who you do those things with, like whether they're getting like actual live real time data as you go versus just informing them of how the business runs?
I'll say this. So we're to a point. I have my foreman, but he's pretty much always on a truck.
Mhm.
We kind of did an overall meeting. We had all of our sales, office, foreman, and myself kind of sit down for like 3 hours last week, um, and chat through that. That's something that we definitely have to look into because my foreman, he's happy with the money he's making. He's getting paid hourly. He could be making more money on his production stuff, but he spends a solid amount of time taking care of other stuff and things there. The um the expense side of it, and I think not from the management side, but I think from a technician side of it is always a challenge because I guess they it's their mindset. I have guys that it's like, dude, why are you getting wet for 5 days after I told you replace the O-ring in this gun? Stop using this leaky ball valve. Oh, it's just a little water that's leaking out. Yeah, well, it's cycling the engine. It's going to cause an issue with the engine, with the unloader, with this and this and this, because you didn't replace. You didn't take the 3 minutes to re-Teflon tape something, and that's something I feel like, at least in my experience, I always have to kind of continually beat that in people's heads, and I wouldn't see that. I guess I could see that like on the foreman side of it, like, okay, guys, this is broken, fix it, so that we don't have to replace this with something. We can just do a quick less than $1 fix and
Yep.
avoid a $75 unloader.
Yep. Yeah, and I
I don't
think
know.
that's where like if that manager is at least seeing that and saying like, hey, like I'm responsible for this. Like the repairs and maintenance budget, we don't put against our manager. We expect repairs and maintenance, but if he's got to go buy new stuff, like that starts to get a little bit different if we're buying tools and equipment because stuff is going down because we didn't repair and maintain it. But yeah, to that point, like if your foreman is in the loop on it and is guarding that P&L and saying like, dudes, like I'm in charge of this portion of our P&L and here's what I'm responsible for, and you're messing it up. And like, and I'm incentivized to get this thing right. Like, I don't like you messing up my cheese here, right? So yeah, I think there's something to be said about having that guy be responsible for what those guys are doing in the field.
Yeah.
Gabe, do you have any incentives tied to that for Emily or any other managers in your business?
Or like preserving cogs.
Yeah, just like managing cost of goods sold to a certain level,
Yeah,
or any other part of the P&L for that matter. I guess I'm just using cogs because everybody's got it.
Yeah, well, so back to your original question of like who do you share that with on a weekly basis? So I don't feel the need, and I could be wrong, but I don't feel the need right now in any of our businesses to share that with any of the technicians on a weekly basis. But on at the production manager level, we share that on a weekly basis, right? We share with all those numbers and with our admin, because she's in charge of our accounts receivable, and so we want her to know like this is this were we profitable, like hey, were we profitable this week, and could we have been profitable, right? Was there enough there to collect that we produced that you were able to collect enough and help us be profitable with the expenses that we had that week? So she knows like if we had to if a bill popped up or we had an expense that came up in the week that was an extra $1,000, cool, I got to go find an extra 1,000 to make up for this. I got to to cover that so that we're still profitable. So I share that with her weekly, and then with our production managers, and then she like for like Emily in Tampa, there's a tie to essentially like how profitable we are. So there's some bonus tied to it, but it's just different for like her than for Pam, who's doing our accounts receivable and our admin.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Now, so cost of goods sold, we have people in our business that are seeing that, not technicians generally, but usually somebody that's managing technicians or has a higher level of responsibility. Is anyone in your businesses seeing the entire P&L on a regular basis? Do you talk to them about individual things? Do you talk to them about, like, in theory, here's kind of how we spend our money overall? How A, does it happen? And B, if it does, how precise do you get with them?
I'll just say that I suck at that.
Yeah.
I met with my CPA and I was like, hold on, what's an income statement? Oh, that was the P&L. Gotcha. Yeah, here's what Missy or Melissa sent to me a week and a half ago.
Misty? Are you talking about Misty?
Misty, yes. Missy.
I got you.
I got the M and the Y.
Yeah, you had like everything. You bookended it perfectly.
Yeah. You know. But yeah, I mean, that's where, like, I'm so like, for me, it's gross revenue, labor, and yes, the bank account balance. Like, I know the saying has been said many times, sales covers all kinds of sins.
Mm-hmm.
You just sell more, I can sell my way out of a lot of holes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gabe, how about you? How do you play with your P&L?
I just went over it with one of our guys as a production manager in TPK, in the business you do the books for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need to do this. I just haven't done it with Emily, and have you do the books for Sudsy Buckets. But I just love the idea of doing the buckets, going over the buckets with them, right? And showing them, like I showed him, like, hey, here's our bucket for labor, and this is where we were, and this is where we need to be, right?
Yep.
And then he's asking questions, well, why were we? And I'm like, okay, well, why do you think we were? And he's like, oh, well, me and Tyler were on that apartment complex for a couple extra days, and we got, we had issues with And I was like, yeah, that's exactly why. And we had to train somebody at that time too, and they got paid. And so we need to, and I had the conversation, we might need to restructure how we pay when we train to make sure that we're in that bucket, and that bucket is profitable. And the way that I've done that and had that conversation is I always just essentially am like, hey, look, like, we're trying to build this pie to feed all of us, right? And so we want everybody to worry about and obsess about building the biggest pie, not about having the biggest slice. If you have the biggest slice, if you're worried about having the biggest slice, you're not a good fit for any of the businesses that I own or operate.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the one thing we try to hammer in is like, hey, look, if we take care of it, this thing will take care of you, right? Like, it'll help you, like, pay for a marriage. It'll help you pay for kids. But we got to take care of it. And so that's how I had that conversation with him, is like, hey, these are the buckets. This is where we're at. This is where we need to be. And then it was good because he asked a lot of questions that were like, well, why is that 36% and not 30%? And it's like, all right, well, what do you think? What do you think happened that could have potentially caused that? And then it's tying that number, that percentage that's super abstract, to a day-to-day thing that he has full control over.
Yep.
It's just gold, though. Bigger pie. And so, I mean, because the biggest slice is me focusing on me. Mm-hmm. How much money can I make out of the business? What does my world look like? And, it's the saying that a rising tide floats all ships. Together we all win. And that's why we also went to the production pay stuff too. And that was, listen, you can win, I can win, the customer wins, like, everybody wins, or I don't lose so bad is really what it comes down to with that. Like, I want everybody to win.
Yeah.
And if you're not winning, then you should be traded to the minors and not be on my team anymore.
Yeah. Or let's fix it. Like,
let's figure out what do you need help on?
Yeah.
I love that. Like, talking through the percentage with them and saying, like, here's where we were, here's where we're supposed to be. What do you think got us out of bounds? Why would we have missed it? And let them start thinking about, like, what didn't go right and what would we have rather had go better, right? I have
Did you see Ben Smith's comment?
Yeah. So Ben says, "What do I do
So,
if I
so
just don't
Ben,
know?"
I'll go ahead and answer that.
What do
What
you
do I
ask? I
do
can't see it.
if I just don't know anything about this shit? And to be honest, I don't have much interest. So Ben, what you do? This guy, I guess right
Oh,
here.
yeah, I'm up there. No, you had it right. Yeah, up there.
Well, depending on which way we're looking at it, but you hired Dan to take care of your bookkeeping and making sure the payroll, make sure the IRS is not going to be, calling you and shutting you down. This is kind of funny because now I'm seeing the back and forth where I was pointing back and forth on everything.
Yeah, you can see the lag on Facebook.
Yeah. The but for real, like making sure that at least having that higher level, the numbers are what they are at the end of the month, and it's at least good to have that data there. I think I'm a money savvy person, but when it comes down to some of the nitty gritty stuff, like again, I've always delegated so much of that to staff just to make sure that yes, did we pay the taxes? Are we still have money in the bank? Good. I'm gonna go find a way to put more money in the bank.
I liked Trevor's comment. So Trevor is Ben's general manager, and Trevor's comment was consult your GM. And I know I was actually ice fishing with Ben and Trevor this last weekend, and I know that Ben's wife does it all for him so that he doesn't have to worry about it. Ben just likes to spend money on toys. So he just makes sure that his wife says he can, and then everything is okay. He's got to get permission before he can spend some money. But no, the break for me is like you guys know how I nerd out on P&Ls, obviously. Ben says Dan sat on Trevor. We maybe consumed. There were some Russian guys next to us. We all know that Russian guys tend to drink more vodka versus Wisconsin guys tend to drink more Busch Light, and they influenced me with their vodka. They influenced Trevor worse. Trevor fell down. I felt that it was only he was talking smack about wrestling with everybody all weekend. Like he's gonna wrestle us. He's gonna take us down. And when he fell down, I just sat on him. That was me pinning him. Took him down. But what happens in a fish house doesn't always stay in a fish house. But so anyway, so I find it like I have to be careful that I don't like give too much financial information. And not that I want my whole team to know all of our financials, but with our leadership team where we have GMs running certain businesses, they need to be equipped with the entire P&L, right? They're responsible for locking in our rent agreement. They're responsible for the insurance. They're responsible for their office manager's pay. They're literally responsible for every part. And I can like coach them on how to think about our marketing and how much we're spending on rent and how much we're spending on recruiting. But they need to see the whole thing. The tricky thing is, just like I talk to bookkeeping clients, kind of need to explain it to them like the same way and coach them through an entire P&L. So I think the point of saying that is like the decisions that they have to make is the information that they need. So if they're making decisions about what the technicians are doing, they need to see cost of goods sold. If they're making decisions at the job and only at the job, they at least need to see their revenue, right? Like they're deciding how they're going to go about cleaning the house. They're the technician, right? If they're making decisions about your entire P&L, they have to have good data to make that decision. And you can't say, hey, general manager, I know you got to run this entire business and make these decisions, but I can't let you know what's going on, in the books behind the scenes. People can't make good decisions without good data. So I think it always comes down to like, you have to at least provide them the data that they need to be able to pencil in a good decision and make that decision. Not saying they're always going to get it right, or not saying they're always going to do what you would do, but you can't like restrict the data from them that they need to make good decisions.
And I think that's scared ownership when you get in a situation like that. Again, I wouldn't take the time to give my foreman, here's the 6 lines of the P&L that you get to look at. No, like here's the 6 lines that you have an impact on, like you said, Gabe, that where you can make a difference. This is where I need you to focus. But like here's the overall picture. And again, I don't know what some smart guy worth more than all of us that said, and it might have been a guy with Apple or whatever, that was, people are always worried about training and teaching their employees because they might leave. And it's like, well, what if you teach and train them and they stay? Like, holy crap, what can you do then?
Yeah.
And it builds a culture of trust. It builds a culture of ownership. If you have a group of 10 employees and they're all taking an ownership view of it, like, what can you accomplish? That's when you find a way to hire 40 people and put them under them and just 10x.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there, because that was what I was going to ask you, is like, what, if you guys have principles that you kind of apply to like the financial transparency, right? Because I just don't really think about it that much, in the sense that I just will tell, if somebody wants to know something, I'll tell them, and we're already super transparent as is from the get-go. And so yeah, I think that's a good guideline for a principle of, hey, make sure they have enough data to make good decisions if they're making decisions on it.
Mm-hmm. And I found the kind of the rule that I live by is like, I'm gonna have our P&L dialed up exactly how I want it to give them that data. So I'm gonna give that data to whoever needs it to make the decisions that I need them to make. But I'm also not going to totally ignore, the technician that wants to understand how our business works. One of the exercises that I've gone through in the past with technicians, especially to bring home the point that we're very dependent on getting a customer to repeat for us, is I will break down, like, our average job size is this. So much percent of it we spend on the labor, the supplies, the fuel, everything. So like, now we have this much money left. Now with a new client, we pay quite a bit for marketing, and we will pay up to this, which for us is like, I'll pay 30% of the job in marketing to go get that next client, because I know I can be profitable. So I'll go up to 30%. So if it's a $300 job, I'll pay $100 for it. So on and so forth. But then I've got admin costs around 15% and overhead around 10%. And I whittle that down for them. And I'm like, we have $0 left. So the first time we serve a customer, we do it perfectly. We do it flawlessly. We make $0. You have to do a good job, because we have to make money next time. Like, we don't, we have to spend a little bit on marketing, maybe to email to them or text message to them or whatever, like somehow to follow up with them. And next time we're going to make money, but you have to get them to repeat. You have to do such a good job that you get them to repeat, because our business is built on client retention and repeats. Even for window cleaning, like where it's a transactional thing, we only make money the second, third, fourth, fifth time that we clean their windows. So I'll give them like the high level P&L view. Here's generally how our expenses flow. And here's why it's important that we do a good job, because if we don't, like, yeah, I know, like, it feels like you guys are making 25%, and it feels like Uncle Dan's making 75%, and he's off like, buying the world. And I'm like, actually, I made 0. Like, here's where the other 75% went. But I think them just understanding that high level view, I don't give them our P&L, because like, I don't want that just floating around in anybody's hands, but B, because they wouldn't understand it. And there's no decisions that they have to make about our rent situation or our liability insurance or like that. Like, it's overwhelming. It's not like right for everybody, but man, when they need to make decisions with it, they better have good data to make those decisions, because I'm trusting them to move thousands of dollars into the right places and get a return on it, or save thousands of dollars. I need them to know what the heck's going on behind the scenes in the business when they're at that decision-making level. So yeah, that's it. That's my rant. That's my bookkeeping rant.
No, that's good. That's what I was going to ask.
All right. So Gabe, I'm curious to hear, do you have a percentage of the average job cost that you're willing to spend on client acquisition? Because Dan, I know you know your numbers. I think that's crazy to spend that much on it.
Not on average.
I know, but like, okay, so up to that. But like, if I'm paying up to that, like, I don't know, that That seems crazy to me.
It's bold. It's crazy.
So it's bold. It is bold. We spend on average like 15%. So
on average, but so do we. Like our average would be around 15. I think last year our average was 11. But we'll spend up to 30 for like the next client. Like that one client will spend up to 30, but we have so many repeats that it drags our average down to like 11.
Nice.
But Rob, also remember we're window cleaning primarily. We're like 80%.
Yeah, so much of that's your route work and obviously your first cleaning. We make a killing every time we do a job,
Yeah. Well, but in your average job size is what, 600 to 800 bucks probably?
Yeah.
Our average job size is a little over 300. So we're banking like you're
just trying to get in the door, so you're willing to pay a bunch of money to get past the.
Yeah, you're going to do 600 to 800 this year, maybe nothing for them next year, and then maybe they'll be back 2 years from now. We're planning on doing 300 now, maybe like another 150 in the fall for their gutters, and then hopefully like 500 next year if we get to soft wash their stuff. So if we can just get them that one time, and then like hit them with a bunch of small little services and keep like being just present and in their neighborhood and doing more stuff for them, then it's a little bit different mindset. But I think average marketing spend over that time would end up being about the same. Maybe. I don't have,
and that's where it's always it's so interesting. I've got Eric Trice is in my market, and he does fleet wash, and so the mentality for the two of us is so different. His profit margin every Saturday is not what mine is on a Tuesday. But because that client is going to spend $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 with him in the year, and I'm doing, 40, 50 clients to do the same amount of revenue, whatever it is.
Yeah. You got to get a lot more margin per client. And of all people, Gabe lives that every day because he's got pressure washing, but then he's got commercial window cleaning, which is low margin and independent contractors. And then he's got maid service, which of like all the home services, probably the lowest margin, most recurring style business.
Well, and that's what I was going to say even with like the route work, we pay out, like our sales guys get paid out on the annual revenue. So sometimes we get hosed on it, right? Because we could have a customer who, like Panera, switched up their stuff as soon as COVID hit. And it's like, well, what are we going to do? We don't want to ruin the relationship with we do all the Paneras in the Nashville market. So it's like, well, shit, we're just going to take a hit and hopefully they stay on long enough for us to make that job, take it from 30% to 15%. But typically we always do. So that's why we pay out that amount.
I'm looking at QuickBooks to see what Rob's marketing percentage is.
I am too. So I'll go ahead and I'll save you the spare. The crazy thing to me is I'm looking at this, and we do support Young Life in our market. So somehow charitable contributions is listed under advertising and marketing.
Build your brand.
I defer to the bookkeeper in the room. But we spent less this year on marketing overall than we did last year, and we'll finish like $150,000 up.
I mean, especially, I bet part of it is the longer you're in business, right? The more repeats you're getting because you just get a bigger and bigger client list, and especially with holiday lights.
Yes, but I do a absolutely horrible job on the repeat rate. Not on the repeat rate, but on the Dan, it's been a year since we cleaned your gutters. Let us come back out again.
Yeah.
Like we are so reactive in so much of it. The other scary part is like I'm looking at the P&L thing, and I look at it and say, Facebook under $3,700 for the year. Home Advisor, $6,000. Google AdWords, $5,500. You know which one of those I have the best ROI on?
Probably Facebook for you, right?
Facebook is like 30x.
Yeah.
Like, and actually, that's probably not even. No, that's not even close to correct. I'll be right back. Let me run that report.
Well, so I think you spent like less than 10% on marketing. We pushed 20% in Minneapolis. We also had a year last year we spent 11. So this year we said we have Andy instead of Dan running our business, we have Andy Mashur running our business. I'd feel better betting on Andy as a window cleaning operator than I would on myself. So we said like we're gonna double down. The downside was I was like, we're gonna put a bunch on that radio station. And it didn't work, and it was my call. So we threw like 20 grand onto a radio station and then pulled the plug like right away. So we kind of had to pull the sunk cost play. But other than that, our marketing went well. That was the only bad thing. But it's fun. It's different business model. But like that part of it, especially the marketing spend, the only people that are really seeing that are our leadership team and our marketing director, obviously, because it's like the general employee makes no decisions in that regard, right? There's just zero decisions that they make besides the general manager that's running that show and the marketing director that's helping them put that money to work to spend that marketing budget. So that's kind of how we break it down. I'm not saying it's right, but I see this topic come up a lot. And Gabe, you had mentioned it, like, how do you give people financial information and how much do you give them? So I think I got nothing else in that regard. I think the thing I would leave everybody with is give them enough information. Give them enough information that they can make good business decisions. If you don't feel comfortable giving them specific details at a certain point, give them the high level. Like, let them know how the business functions. Like I was kind of talking about with us giving kind of the percentage breakdowns to our technicians, at least they understand why it's so important that we get repeat business. And we have clients that we get to serve for free next year and not have to market to this year. That like makes our business hum. So again, just make sure you're giving the right level of detail, allowing people to make good business decisions, and that'll support your business a lot more. Don't be that like tight to the chest, tight to the vest, scared of your business person.
Yeah.
We have a 38x ROI on Facebook and social media marketing.
Is that good?
I think so. We did $141,000 after spending $3,700.
That'll work.
It helps that literally like our number one client, commercial property manager that saw us one time commented like, "Hey, do you want to clean a bunch of condos?" And we're like, "Sure." And then he threw us a Food Lion and a hotel, an apartment complex. And then when we actually, so our new building, the same guy, my same point of contact, that property manager is who got us into this place, got us a great deal. And I don't know for a fact, but based off the emails we got after we signed that lease, he basically told all the other property managers in their office to just send us everything.
That's a good acquisition cost.
Yeah,
built into
that's phenomenal.
It's a good investment in a space.
I like, so Ben Smith asks, what do you guys consider marketing? And part of the reason we put charitable contributions into yours, Rob, we put that in everybody's marketing expenses. It's generally anything that's supporting your brand, helping, like taking care of clients, if it's client gifts or something like that, helping clients find you and making it easy for them to talk to you and see you and like that make you look pretty, right? So we break it down into 4 or 5 buckets. I think 5 buckets. We have charitable contributions. Mm-hmm. We have client gifts. Those 2 aren't usually huge, but somebody's got something in both of those usually. And then the 3 bigger ones are marketing infrastructure, which would be your website, any software that you use to like make it easier for people to find you or talk to you. Like if you have a bot or a texting service or like Responsibid to quote people online or something like that, like a software that isn't just like software overhead, is very sales focused software, marketing focused software to make it easy for people to work with you. Then you've got your ad spend, the Google ads, the Facebook ads, what you're putting money into and like pulling the lever to try to get a return on. And then lastly, you've got your expertise spend or your labor spend, which would be for somebody that's going to be doing your SEO for you, somebody that's going to be doing your Facebook stuff for you, running your Google ads for you. So that's how we break it down. we don't expect to get a return off of charitable contributions, client gifts, or infrastructure costs. But when we spend money on ads or on experts, we need to get dollars back in at a certain rate to justify that cost. So when we look at like client acquisition cost, we're looking at those two things, and we know we can spend, and Rob, that 30% threshold for us is purely based off of, here's our average job size, and we know that we can still at least make $0 if we spend this much. And so we'll spend up to that much. We don't want to spend up to that much, but we will to keep our guys busy. We'll spend up to that much to make sure we got work coming in the door. So that's how we break it down. Benny boy, never called him that before, but it just seemed like the right thing to say. We're like an hour and a half in, dudes. What else you got? You guys got any closing thoughts, closing comments on financial info for employees?
It all comes back to the people. If you treat somebody like they're a child, like they're not trustworthy, they're going to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And some people aren't trustworthy. Some people shouldn't know everything. You know, the sales guy that I fired, he did not look and know as many of the numbers as my previous salesperson had known. And I'm a very open book, you know, about pretty much everything with the staff. Like, you want to know anything, I will tell you what we spent on this or this or this, or what we did in our revenue. Like, it's not a secret situation. But it really is. It's that person and how they look at it. And everybody, the people that are afraid that, you know, if Gabe knows everything, he's going to leave and he's going to start his own business. You know what? I hope that if Gabe understands the full picture, if he knows what really and truly is involved in this, instead of, man, I did $1,000 in work for Rob today and he only paid me $100. Dude, I didn't make $900. I didn't make $500. Like, would you like to see the $12,000 or $13,000 that we spend a year on insurance? You want to pay that bill? That's fun. Every time, I always love it too, because I get into May and it's like, hey, yes, there's money in the bank account. And then like, here comes the mail, and it's like, hey, you owe us $30,000. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
I finally have money in my bank account.
Why did you send that to me in installments?
Yeah. Well, the installments only cost $35 extra per payment. You're like, why?
Processing fee.
Yeah.
Gabe, what do you think? Any closing thoughts on financial info for employees?
Yeah, I think kind of along the lines of what Rob just said, just kind of piggybacking off of that, is that people, you know, the right people don't want to be treated like a kid, and the right people also want to do a good job, right? And so if you can help them understand how to do a good job, or what a good job looks like, not aside from just the job description, but also showing them where their productivity lies in a P&L and how they directly help a company become profitable, then I think like it can be nothing but beneficial, right? Like, because if it's the right person, they're going to take that information. Like, the reason I brought it up at BBB again, and why we even like talked about this, and I brought it up to Sean, because I had that experience with my admin at Right Hand Rhino, and she was crushing it basically. Like, we have been the most profitable we've ever been, and it's because she said, okay, well, this is where my activity needs to be, like priority activities here. These things need to get done. So I still have to get these, but this is where like I gotta crush it. I gotta crush it for us to be profitable. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't based off of incentives. Like, there was nothing structured in. It was just her knowing this is what me helping the company looks like. And so I think that's where it can be really, really powerful and really beneficial to share those numbers with the right person. So yeah.
There's one piece in there, and you started with it and finished with it, and you may have done it accidentally, but I think it just.
Can you give me credit?
What's that?
It's when he gave me credit for like saying something good, right?
Yeah. Wait, what? I did? But it's got to be the right person, right? And so there's a good chance that if you're like, I just don't trust my employees to give them this stuff, like, well, then you just don't have the right employees. I'm not saying like ditch them all, but like, go check out Blue Collar Recruiting, which will be live tomorrow on the Blue Collar Recruiting page. Like, go get some insight from a professional recruiter and make sure that you trust your employees and that you have people that you're like, yeah, I want them to be successful. And yeah, I think they want to be successful. And so like, that's a game changer, right? If you're looking at your employees as a liability and you're like, I don't want to give them financial information because I don't even trust them to go out and do the work. There's a good chance like you probably don't have the right employees for the business that you're running. And maybe that's the start. It's not giving them information. It's making sure you got employees that you like and trust. They got to be the right people. So like, don't be shy about recruiting. Go get the right employees. Like, I know recruiting stuff. I know unemployment. Well, it's not super low right now, but it's still really hard to find good people. But like, they're out there. You just got to put a lot of time, money, and effort into it. So go get them, and then they'll like pay you back tenfold.
Yeah, Sean just recruited a guy for me 2 weeks ago. He's already profitable.
Boom,
this guy,
boom, cranking
literally.
Yeah. So I think that's me. I got to hit Sean up for another bookkeeper. Actually, I've got 6 new clients like this week for bookkeeping, so I need another bookkeeper really fast. Everybody waits till the end of the year. So let me like finishing note here. Target budgets. I mentioned it way at the beginning of this. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go out to yourblueskies.com. I'll put a link in the comments or whatever. But if you don't want to build your budget for next year, which there's a really good chance you don't, I already built it for you. And it's super easy to use. You like punch in your sales and that's it. But it's also super customizable if you want to like nerd out on it. So go grab it. It's free. It's at least $1,000 value. I have no idea how much more valuable it is than that, but it's at least $1,000 value and it's free. Next year I'm charging for it. So save the template because I'm going to charge like at least $500 for it next year. But in the meantime, it's free. So go grab it. It's at yourblueskies.com. There's, if you're in the home service market, there's one for your industry, unless you're lawn care and landscaping, because I still need to finish that one. I'll have it out by the end of the week. I said that last week, but it's a little trickier for you guys. You got some different stuff going on. So anyway, that's it. Go get that, yourblueskies.com, free budget template. Check it out. At least understand the percentages you should spend on everything. Ben Smith says lies. I think I don't even know what to say to that. They're all lies. My grandma just jumped on. What's up, Grandma Jane? Thanks for checking in late at night. Isn't that past your bedtime? What the hell are you doing up, Grandma? Jeez. Anyway, Rob, thanks for jumping back on.
Make me a sandwich.
Gabe, thanks for doing back to back.
I'm sorry I haven't been on for a while.
Yeah,
thanks for having me. Can't believe I haven't been on. I thought I was on it once before. It must have been us just.
I think, as I was thinking about it, I think we had like a group thing where we had a handful of people on at one point in time, like during COVID. And so you may have been on in that like 9 box of folks. But it wasn't so like intimate and like specific. That was like high level. So
this is awesome. Thank you.
Trevor says, thanks for the info. First time watching, I will tune in again. What I think what he meant was like, you know, first time caller, long time listener, or whatever they say on the radio. I think that's, you know, first time call. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to Bookkeeping Beer and BS, guys. I am probably not going to see you. No, I will see you next Wednesday. I'll do something next Wednesday. You guys want to see something next Wednesday? I'll do something next Wednesday. I'm not going to see you the week between Christmas.
It should be like my Christmas party, and we have just all kinds of shenanigans going on.
Yeah. Maybe we'll just get like a real rowdy crew on here next week, and we'll let her fly. We'll just see what happens. It'll be
bring Bobby back, and he can put like some bows or ribbons on his titties, and
I think he will. I think we could probably get him to do that.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
Yes.
But anyway, thanks for checking in, guys. Go get your free target budget template at yourblueskies.com. I'll put it in the comments here as soon as I'm done talking, and we'll catch you guys next time. See you next Wednesday for what apparently is going to be our new annual holiday party on Bookkeeping Beer and BS. All right. See y'all.
Yeah.
Boom. Live. Done.
Nice. Last week I just clicked leave, like ending the call.
Sean and I made fun of you, but truly Sean used to do that like every time. He did it every single time. And
I realized it after. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like you can stop the live, but still like chat with each other and like, you know, say goodbye. You don't just have to like leave me like that.
I just click off. I'm so used to it. On any other Zoom call, we're just Xing out.
Yeah.
So,
Like
I always think it's funny when it's like a race to end a meeting because you don't want to like sit there and stare at the person awkwardly and you can tell like they're trying to find the end meeting button.
Yeah, because there's that awkward silence after saying bye to go try to find the red button.
Yeah, like, oh, I missed it with my mouse on, so like, moving around. Shit. Okay, yep, see ya.
Yeah. Nice. No, that was cool.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. Those spreadsheets are legit though. I need to go finish signing up for that. Because I saw that and I was like, holy shit, this is legit.
It's a beast. It's a
beast.
It's scary looking at, I was just like the total, I'm not big on the monthly P&L kind of stuff, but like I spent $8,000 on wraps this year. Yeah, that sounds about right. I wrapped 2 trailers, a box truck, and my Fusion. It's all free money.
Yeah, I mean, it pays for itself, right? That's the whole point of marketing.
Amazingly quickly.
I'm surprised. We spent 19% on marketing in Minneapolis, 15% on ads, 3% is like allocations for Paul and our social media guy that's internal, and then a couple grand on like infrastructure stuff for website. And
I always say it's scary that so $3,700 over 350 days, it's like 10-12 bucks a day. I spend more money most days on my lunch than I do on Facebook marketing, and it pays for everything else. Like,
that's how much of it is like SEO, where because you're so active and people like know who you are. Like, I can't imagine somebody that just like jumps on and starts doing Facebook could possibly get the same return on it that you get.
And that's where, like, I've done my Facebook marketing classes and stuff, and like it feeds on it. Like, I always look at that, like that versus Google AdWords. Google AdWords is paying for where your magazine is at Food Lion. If you stop paying that premium fee, your magazine gets thrown back in the cereal aisle and nobody's paying attention to it anymore. Mm-hmm. But the Facebook marketing is the whole reason why you went in there and you were looking for Cinnamon Toast Crunch, instead of just deciding, I'm going to just walk through the cereal aisle and find out what looks good today. Like, no, like Facebook marketing, we continue to I just get in front of everybody for so friggin' cheap. It's nuts. Like we lit up a bridge, and this is like you walk across a bridge in a minute at our like local park where the city does they've added 1 tree in the last 15 years. Mm-hmm. Everything else is literally the same lights that I saw when I was a kid.
Isn't that funny? Like, what did we do last year? These. Oh, good.
It's stupid. Like, I lit up this bridge with 26 strands of minis, and I put $60 behind it and got 750 people to like, heart, whatever else. And I invited like 450 people to like our page, and then they've opted in. So now every time I post other stuff, they're seeing it. And that's all. Like, I don't try and say, hey, Dan, sign up for my service now. Like, and I should, but all of it is just, hey, just like me, because we're fun. Like we bought pool noodles at our shop. We're putting all the Christmas lights. There's a lot of low hanging beams and stuff that like are just straight up, you're gonna get a concussion today.
Yeah, up in your rafter area,
dude. So we bought all these pool noodles and decided to have a pool noodle fight in the shop. I just threw that up as a Facebook post. Like, it's just nonsense. Like, people enjoy just watching us have fun. Like, and that's exactly the reaction, Gabe, is that people are just laughing at it instead of saying like, we are very good at Christmas lights and power washing. Please watch us. And like, it's like, no, hey,
party.
Like, yeah.
I like to party.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's had fun and like,
hire me. Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
that's
I guarantee you, and it'd be interesting to see, like, I don't even want to try and find out how many times we posted this year, but I would almost be willing to bet that we've posted more times on Facebook this year than probably I'd say than any of your bookkeeping clients. if anybody's beating me, there's one, maybe two people, but I doubt it.
Not that I know of.
For free.
But I don't even know all of our bookkeeping clients anymore.
Yeah.
I'm getting to that point, where you like at the point where you like stop knowing all of your clients in your pressure washing business or whatever. Like for a while, you kind of knew who everybody was.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm going around doing like quotes, and I looked at this one, I was like, that kind of looks nice, and I was like, oh, there's our lawn sign in that yard. Oh, that was one of our clients. I didn't know they existed.
Yeah.
They're cool.
It's good and bad. It's like, I feel like I'm a little disconnected, but at the same time, I'm like, all right, like our process is working. Things we're doing are working when I don't know who everybody is anymore.
Yeah.
Knowing how they're supposed to. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's awesome, man.
All right, dudes. I'm gonna go make some popcorn, have a snack, and go to bed.
All right. See you, dude.
Listen, I gotta sell like 8 more bookkeeping clients tomorrow.
Get it.
Sell.
Be nice to meet you, Rob. I'll see you guys.
See ya.
See you, Dan.